Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. It's Thursday Tier Talk. Myself and Darren back on your screens here. We've got a Premier League preview. We'll take a look back at the European action. We'll be talking about the Manchester Derby. We'll be talking about our bets, tips and picks for the weekend and beat the bookie. We'll have a quick chat about Saudi getting the World Cup in 2034, all those kind of things. And anything else you want to raise in the chat, we'll talk about it as well. Don't forget, earlier I did Pro Wrestling Weekly. It's up there with a preview for the Saturday night's main event. Jesse Ventura back with the Hulkster. Let's see what happens there. And also, don't forget to check out Monday show. Tony Brown was on from Legends 11. We were talking about a Leeds Legends game coming up next year. Who was involved, what's involved, all that kind of good stuff as well. So make sure you check that out as well. Darren, how are we?
I'm all good, pal. How are you?
Good, yeah, not too bad at all. Slightly recovering. The knee
hanging in there is what we say, isn't it?
Yeah, falling apart at the knees, as they say. But yeah, not too bad. So getting there slowly but surely. Baz is in the chat. Big up, Baz. Good to see you, my friend. Back in again. Back
on,
again.
Baz.
So if you could, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video. Really important we get those likes up, folks. They're so important to us.
I was in work earlier on, and of course the United game kicked off. Did it kick off at 6:15 or what time is it? 5:45, something like that?
Yeah, 6:15, yeah.
So my last group comes in from 6:30 till 7:30. And they're kind of teenage girls and stuff like that. We've a bit of crack. And came in. And of course, Pilsen scored. And I was like, oh! And they were like, what's wrong? And they were like, we get it wrong every week. There's never this big a deal. I was like, it's nothing to do with you. It obviously flashed up on the watch, So I was like, you know what? Like, if something's going to push me over the edge, it's absolutely going to be my football team. I said, I'm telling you, And then one of the girls, cool as you like, says, oh, you must be a Man United supporter.
They're clued in.
And I says, what makes you say that? And she says, you sound exactly like my dad and my brother. And I was like, okay, there's more than just me in it. So, and of course, then we equalise, and I let out a yes. And this lady, now I'm on court. The courts are all stacked in a row. They're 1 to 6, Yeah. I'm on court 4 and 5. There's ladies over on court 1, and they're looking down as if, what's after happening? And obviously, Highland was made at 1-1, and I'm like, come on! And then by the time I get into my car to come home, he scored a winner. And I'm in the car on my own. Yes! But I parked the first car in the car park, the very first space. So when you come in, we have a little arch that you drive through. And when you come in the arch, I park in the first spot there. So as the cars are coming in for all the other stuff going on in the club, I'm sitting in the car, yes! Like this. And they must think, what's he doing? And of course, I can't see a goal. I couldn't tell you what the game was like. I don't know what colour jerseys they were wearing. I can just get the notification on me watch. Ping, ping, ping. Shut up, Jerry. Nobody asked you.
Right.
We're not gonna now. We have a new rule. We're not gonna read any of these comments out from Jerry until he takes the balaclava off.
Until he changes the username.
Until he takes off the balaclava and owns up to who he is, we're gonna ignore you, Jerry.
What if he comes out on the next show and just adds a J to it and he's Jacers? Or a G to it and he's Jacers? What if he drip feeds all the time or something like that?
I tell you what, if he gives us a letter the next night, we'll talk to him. But he has to give us a letter. It's like a game of Hangman.
Blockbusters. I'll have a B, please, Bob.
Brilliant.
There we go. Yeah, so there you go. So let's take a look back at the European football, first of all. Sort of Tuesday. So we had Liverpool winning 1-0 away to Girona. kind of out for a bit of an old jaunt, really, more than anything. Didn't really play very well. I think, I don't know how Robbo, I think it was Robbo who picked up man of the match or something like that. I thought he was awful on the night. I thought Allison was our best player with all the saves that he made.
I didn't see the game. I was in work, but I did hear Allison was the best player by a country mile.
Yeah, Robbo basically every ball into the box hit the first man. Every ball nearly into the box hit the first man, basically.
Who was giving out man of the match then?
I've no idea. I assumed that's what it was because I seen a video where they were messing around when I'm getting man of the match, and all the Liverpool players were walking by. You know where they put up the board to present the man of the match trophy. The boys were all walking by, looking at him like
scratching our heads, thinking,
this was
wrong number, pal.
Van Dijk and all, so it was kind of weird. I was surprised at the lineup and all we put out. I didn't think we needed to go that strong at all, but obviously he wanted to find a bit of rhythm because the Newcastle game wasn't great either, so it was probably getting ready for the Fulham game at the weekend.
Which will be a good game.
1-0 up against Tottenham.
The Fulham game will be a good game. I expect Fulham to cause you a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, we'll get into that though. Aston Villa winning 3-2. A guy who we spoke about in the summer who could be pivotal for them as a rotational player, Ross Barkley, coming up with the winner in the 85th minute.
And one John Duran, obviously getting the winner last weekend and getting on the score sheet with another thunderbolt on Tuesday night. A real good footballer.
With the way he's playing at the moment, why do you get the whole substitution thing? And is that going to keep him happy? Because we've seen a lot of rumblings with John Duran, problems in the training ground, words with Emery. Seems can be a little bit of a loose cannon at times, but must be frustrated that he's not starting with the way
I imagine that's the case. I imagine his frustration building up because, listen, we all know Ollie Watkins is a super footballer. He's a great striker. And he leads the line very, very well for Aston Villa. But it does have to be frustrating for Duran that there's not more of an opportunity. Like when he started last weekend against Southampton, it was his first start in the league since like May or something. And you're going, what? Since May? Like surely Aston Villa came up against somebody between May or April, whenever it was, and the other day, where they could have said, listen, we'll give John an hour, see how he does. We'll hold the other lad in reserve. Because don't forget, they're playing Champions League football as well. So, I mean, the Champions League run they're on is brilliant. It's phenomenal. They're probably going to get one of the top spots, which will qualify them for the next round, which means they skip the playoff spot, which will be amazing for Aston Villa. It really will.
Yeah, massive.
Huge. And it'll allow them to concentrate back on the league performances as well. Because we know when teams go into European competitions like that, the further they go into the competition, the more it affects the league form. And that's what Villa don't want. Villa don't want to do really, really well in Europe this season and end up falling on their sword at the quarterfinals and then end up finishing 6th, where they're now back in the Europa next season. That's not what Aston Villa want. You know, and it's tough. It is tough to try and juggle that squad, and I think that's where we talk about John Duran and maybe Emery could do it, giving him a little more game time to just keep him sweet and to just kind of keep everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, you know?
And the fact that he still hasn't padded out the squad to deal with both those big competitions.
Still a really small squad. Like you could generally name the Villa team week to week.
Yeah, and the problem is you've got so many of those players are key as well, and if they get injuries, you've got Leon Bailey in there, John McGinn, Duran, Watkins, so many players.
He's really other than maybe Onana in the midfield. We haven't seen much of any of the lads he's brought in the summer. Like Maatsen has been bit part. Philligan has done a little bit, not very much. The boy Samuel Lilling Jr. got blown back out again. So did Berenchea. So I mean, like, other than getting Onana in to replace Douglas Luiz, who left the building, there's probably there's still a little bit light. I know Barkley obviously as well, but he was, you know, he came in on a free. It didn't cost him too much and stuff like that. It was a good deal for Villa. We talked about it at the time. Yeah. And he'll pop up with goals like that, you know, and he'd be very, very pivotal in those over that Christmas period when you've games backed up and you've got somebody like Ross Barkley who wants to go out and play football. He's just that kid in the street with a ball. He's one of them lads, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're certainly not built at the moment for 9 or 10 games in a month.
They're
No, it's
not.
definitely not
They're
there. And
really not.
that's what's ahead of them at the moment. So it's
Absolutely.
big, moving into Wednesday then, Arsenal 3-0 over Monaco. Seems on the face of it a big win, but I think if you watch this game, still not overly convincing. You know what I mean? There still seems to be something there that I can't really kind of, Jesus, awful.
They're still really,
again.
really, really short of a number 9.
Yeah.
Like, they're so short of a number 9, it's scary. And I mean, when you've got, like, if you look at what they have, like, you've got Raya, does a great job at the back there. You've got, Ben White, Timber, Calafiore. You've got Gabriel and Saliba. That's a phenomenal back five there that you can rotate players in and out of. You got Odegaard, Partey, Rice, Moreno. Super. Havertz, Martinelli. Havertz, I wouldn't even name him. Havertz, Martinelli, Saka. Super. So, like, they're stacked in so many areas. And then you look at the 9 and you go, what have you got, lads? And it's just, like, they don't even have Eddie Nketiah anymore. That's how bad it is. And the kid who was supposed to be the big, big star at Arsenal was the boy Cheeto Obi Martin. And he came to us.
Yeah.
He was apparently the guy who was going to save them 60 million. This kid was going to come in. And they lost him and they didn't replace him either. And now you're looking at it going, lads, this is, if we're to be in a title race going into February, going into March, if we're to be flying the flag in the FA Cup, trying to win a Champions League, who's going to score your goals? It ain't going to be Kai Havertz, as good a job as he does. It ain't going to be Gabriel Jesus, because he wouldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. And there's a real void there at Arsenal. A real void. It's a glaringly obvious mistake from the hierarchy at Arsenal, I have to say.
Do you know what was weird as well? Okay, they didn't go out for a number 9, or if they did, they didn't land one, certainly, and it wasn't out there and stuff. But even the boy that you was picked up, it wasn't a struggle. You weren't in a battle to get him. It happened just so easy out the door, and it was like, okay, you know what I mean? So it's a very, very strange situation. Unless they're going to go out in January. I mean, now January to pick up a number 9 is very, very tough.
Well, what I would say is, all year round is tough to get a decent 9. January, it's like fucking unicorn shit. You know, it really is. Anybody worth their salt isn't going to be allowed to leave one of their teams going into the business end of proceedings, let's call it.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to try and maybe make some sort of a loan move. That's the only thing I think they could possibly have, in the background, is a loan move for somebody who would just give them an outlet. Not necessarily one of the big names to fill the void, but just somebody to go in and do the job and play the position as a 9. Because it's also, as much as you've got, Martinelli and Saka and Trossard and Sterling and stuff on the wings, feeding the balls in and stuff. Even for those guys, they're putting the ball into an area and they're thinking, why isn't there someone there? Why isn't there someone there? I would emphasise the fact that if Bukayo Saka hadn't got the type of goal involvements he does, Arsenal would be miles off it. He's single-handedly keeping him in the Champions League, keeping him involved in the Premier League title race, keeping him involved. Like, do you know what I mean? And this is on a really young lad. We know he's a good footballer. We've spoken about it before. He's one of the top players in the league. But it's a lot to heap onto a kid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
we're in a similar position somewhat with Salah, but just with a bit more, I suppose. But I still think it's just
you're not in the same position as Salah. With Salah.
No, but I mean, there's parallels between the two of them at the moment.
Listen, there's obviously parallels because of the position they play, first of all, and the goal involvements. But Salah has done it year on year on year.
No, I mean, I meant in the current season. I meant in the current season.
Saka hasn't had to do it, and plus, look at what Salah has around him. He's got Diaz, he's got Gakpo. He'll have Jota back again soon. I can't say Nunez because God bless him. If he was working for on post at the minute, he'd miss the fucking letterbox. Like, it's my heart goes out to him. It genuinely does. Like, and I know, and he looks like a guy who wants nothing more than for it to work. And he's like, look, I can make it work. I can make it work.
Yeah.
And it just won't work. And every time he puts his hand on another card, the house falls further towards the ground.
Yeah, he's just,
and you're just like, no.
And you know the worst thing about it is it has to be 100% mental, because it's not any lack of effort. He just mentally in his mind, it's just every single time.
It is 110% not effort, because I tell you what, he obviously has a heart the size of a lion, because he keeps wanting the ball.
Yeah. He doesn't shy away from it, or he doesn't. No.
Which to me says great things about the lad. You know, it really does that. He's still, even though he's having these instances where it's not going his way, he still wants it. Give me the ball, I can do it. Give me the ball, I can do it. He's backing himself. It's unbelievable.
Do you know what it is? I don't even think it's one of those things where he's on a drought and if he scored a couple, he'd take off.
Yeah.
I still think even if he scores a couple, he'll still miss a bag load.
He absolutely will.
That's just the way he is.
Yeah.
But it's like, and that's the problem. It's very hard to dislike what you see, because you see the effort and everything else. And like, to be honest with you, some of the online stuff is horrific, really, to be honest. But it's just, you know what I mean? It's self-centered people who are very new to the scene, I'd imagine.
But you're right about, and that's forgotten about so often, you know, and we do talk about, well, you know, goals and assists, goal involvements, they're important. Of course, they're important.
Yeah.
But listen, 11 times out of 10, give me a guy who wants to try and run through a brick wall for me. And he's one of them guys.
Yeah.
He'll clock you 13, 14, 15K in a game. No problem to him.
And look for the ball all the time.
And look for the ball all day. Try and give you an outlet, go down the lines. No, he's, you know, I'd like to see a turn from. I don't know if it's possible or plausible that it turns at Liverpool, because I think at this stage, Slot has got to be looking at it going,
it's beginning to feel like it needs a change of scenery, and he'll go somewhere else and ball out.
Listen, we seen it, and somebody on one of the Man United forums shared a video last week, and it was Diego Forlan's best goals, right? Now, this is the same Diego Forlan that came to Manchester United, and it didn't work. And he missed sitter after sitter after sitter. The performances weren't there. The work rate was okay. The endeavour was okay, but things wouldn't work for him. He went to Villarreal and Atletico Madrid and became one of the best strikers in Europe. And he was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Did you see our boy the other night for AEK Athens? Anthony Martial?
No.
He scored 5 in the last 3 games for AEK, as far as I know. Banging them in again the other night.
He'd be out for 6 months from Wednesday, though. That's the, you know what I mean? We know Anthony Martial. There's no shortage of talent, but, you know, he's another guy. Like, as you would say, like, Anthony Martial has way more ability, let's say, than a Darwin Núñez, right? But you've a Darwin Núñez who will run and run and run. And you've this other lad looking going, do I have to run? You know, it's... Yeah. I'd still take a Núñez all day. I have to tell you, I really would.
Yeah, because you get the work rate. Rovers 3-0 up, according to Acers. And what did you make then?
Rovers are 3-0 up, 2 from Johnny Kenny and 1 from Neil Ferrugia, which is unbelievable from Shamrock Rovers, by the way.
Yeah.
This puts Shamrock Rovers into 6th place in the Conference League.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got Chelsea. They've got Chelsea next. Acers is Thomas.
They've got Chelsea on the last game.
Yeah.
Now the problem's going to be, unless they get something against Chelsea, they'll probably end up in the playoffs and
the qualifiers. Yeah.
But I mean, to get into the playoffs is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now listen, I don't know whether, and we talk about it all the time in the league and in the Europa. It cost them their league title. It cost them their league title. So if I'm at Shamrock Rovers, and I know the answer to this, by the way, this isn't a question, but do I want to finish second to Shells and end up in the knockout stages of the conference? Or do I want to win the league and end up getting dumped out of the group stage? I absolutely want to go to Europe because that's where the money is. Cha-ching! And I'm sure that'll be enough to keep Stephen Bradley in the job, by the way. because he should be lauded for what he's done, getting them that far.
Yeah, and not only that, you have to remember they were like this much away from winning the league. You know what I mean? So like it's not like they got pasted and finished fifth. What about Juventus 2, Man City 0? Man City's woes continue. Vlahovic and McKennie with the goals.
I certainly know one man that was quite happy with it.
Go on.
A mutual friend we have in a group chat.
Yes, absolutely.
He takes great pleasure in seeing Manchester City fall down the stairs.
He does.
Okay, very good. Is that the Russian lad?
Former Bournemouth owner. Not too sure.
It might be the Russian lad. I don't think they will.
We should.
I don't think they will.
We will get onto it. There's no doubt we'll get onto it. But yeah, what are you making at the moment? Like, I suppose we'll get into City when we talk about the derby.
Yes.
Nothing talking about at this stage, anyway. So.
No.
Right. So let's get into. Obviously, yourselves picking up the win tonight, as you said, with the late one from Hoyland, and Chelsea picking up a big win as well. They won 3-1 earlier, I think it was as well, with a much changed side. So let's get into the Premier League then. Let's do our Premier League preview, get through that. Start off Arsenal versus Everton.
Big game. Big game. Arsenal off the back of the draw away to Fulham last weekend. Fulham very unlucky not to get the win. I thought they were good value for the win, Fulham. And they have been. I mentioned Marco Silva's name when the United job came up. Yeah. And I know a lot of people went, what? Marco Silva? Marco Silva is doing a tremendous job at Fulham. He did a tremendous job at Everton at one stage. And he did a tremendous job at Watford. Marco Silva, for me, should be in line for a pretty big gig somewhere down the road. For my money. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know where it's going to be. Marco Silva deserves a spin at one of the bigger clubs for my money.
Would he be the guy to take Spurs to a trophy?
Excuse me.
If Ange exits the build,
possibly. I do see a lot. I did see a lot this week. Excuse me. Where people weren't actually questioning Ange, they were questioning Daniel Levy and whether it was time for Daniel Levy to exit stage left before Ange goes.
That's never going to happen.
Because of the wage structure, and obviously, Spurs want to mix it at the top table, but because of what they pay transfer wise and wages and salary wise, it makes it very, very difficult. It does. They have to be very, very clever with their purchases and with their recruitment and stuff like that. Do you know
I looked at Spurs during the week actually when a lot of this was being said. They spend an awful lot of money. They don't not spend. But you know what they find? What I tend they find to do? If they give a manager 200 million to spend, he's looking for 5 or 6 players out of it. Maybe more.
Maybe 8.
Yeah, maybe more. Instead of going out and buying 4 50 million pound players or something like that.
So this is
6 or 8 players.
This is what guys are talking about with the budget and then with the wages. Because here's the other issue. If you buy someone at 50 million and you buy someone at 25, you can guarantee the one on 50 is going to have double the amount of wages as well. Yeah. And this is where he's coming in at a level. So he signs somebody. He signs a Timo Werner. He signs a Pape Matasar. He signs a Destiny Adogi, Pedro Porro. All good players, all really good players, but all at a level just slightly below where, there will be exceptions to the rule. Mickey Van de Ven.
You get a Madison or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but in general, because he wants to keep and fit into this structure, Now, like, here's the other thing. Tottenham have a lot to offer. Like, they've got one of the best stadiums in the world, in world football at the minute. Not just in England. And also, they're based in London. So there's a lot of players fancy the bright lights in London. So they've got some selling points, which might offset against a little bit of the money. Like, I mean, okay, let's say you've a deal on the table for a £30 million player, and Newcastle are going to give you 150 grand, or Tottenham are going to give you 120, but you're in London. What do you take?
Yeah, no, I get you. I understand that, yeah.
But that's the level that you're at. You're at that, we don't go over 150 grand a week. It's good money. I'm not saying it's bad money. But you're not getting any of the ones who's a guarantee in a starting 11 for it. You're not getting a Virgil van Dijk. You're not getting an Alisson. You're not getting a Bruno Fernandes. You're not getting the cream.
You're not getting enough to put you on that yellow brick road.
That's all it is.
Really. And that's the issue. So the issue is then you need to have a manager coming in who can work within the confines of that and get absolutely 120% out of every one of those players. And more often than not, you'll get a number of those players will start off really well and then they'll regress. And that's what we see tends to happen, because Udogie was very, very good. He's regressed. Poirot, I think, is a really, really good player. I think Poirot actually is a really, really good player who could be really successful in a bigger, better team. I think he could fit in because he could step up, I think.
Poirot was a Man City player.
Yeah.
So Poirot was a Man City player, and he didn't get the game time, and he obviously went to Portugal, and Spurs sucked him in from Portugal. So there was a stage where he was being looked at as possibly being able to sit at the top table. Now, I've got to tell you, and we talk about Manchester City all the time, the first two things Manchester City are missing, other than Rodri, is two fullbacks.
Yeah.
They're missing two fullbacks. They don't have fullbacks. They generally have centre-backs playing all across the back four. Aki,
do you know what's really weird?
What?
They're actually missing the players that they sold or loaned out, isn't it? Because you look at Cole Palmer, look at Poirot. Who else did they put out there?
Romeo Lavia.
Like these are all the gaping holes, isn't it? These are the gaping holes.
Well, if you go and put Liam Delap, Julio Alvarez, Cole Palmer, Romeo Lavia, and Pedro Porro into that City squad, are they where they are now? No, you have a very different outlook on life. Very, very different outlook. Yeah. And somehow, Jerry, I agree with you. I think Kyle Walker's he's a beaten man, not just off the pitch, but on it now as well. And the other issue, and I have to talk about this. I saw a statistic the other day, and this was a comparison between two players. And it was goal involvements since Anthony signed at Man United. He has more than Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish's stats are shocking. 100 million quid. And what's that guy on? He must be on 250 grand a week. Has to be on 250. Has to be. And like nothing. And it's, and whatever about Anthony, who doesn't really play that much, Grealish tends to play somewhat. He plays enough to have a better success rate with goal involvements. Yeah, no, they've real problems there at the moment. Grealish, Doku as well. Doku's been injured. He looks okay. The boy Savinho again looks okay. But none of them have that final pass or that final decision in them. Look, you look at Doku. He'll run around the pitch. He'll beat players. He'll look absolutely world class. Gets to the boy line, either cuts back or doesn't put the ball in. I think there's a really, really simple fix here for a lot of people, right? And you'll have to just bear with me for a second on this. Newcastle need to shake up that squad a little bit, and they kind of don't have a number 10. They've got Isak as the 9, and they've got Gordon out on the left-hand side, Bruno tends to play a little bit deeper. He's involved in the tackling and stuff like that, and I love Bruno Guimaraes. Let's say Anthony Gordon heads to City. looks after that left-hand side. Maybe you've got Savinho on the right, Gordon on the left, Haaland through the middle. Ticks a lot of boxes. Grealish goes into Newcastle, plays the 10 behind Isak. Harvey Barnes gets the starting position on the left. And then the money that they get for Gordon on top of Grealish, you buy a right winger elf. And everyone's a winner, baby.
Very, very difficult to convince Grealish to go to Newcastle.
I don't think it will be. I don't think it will. I think they'll pay. He's not going to get 250 bags a week anyway. He might get 150 and he could possibly get 2. He won't get 250, but they'll give him a starting role. Eddie Howe telling you, you're going to be me number 10. You're going to be me creative player. You're going to be me playmaker. I want you involved in everything. Plus, they will fucking love Jack Grealish in Newcastle if he becomes the Jack Grealish that was at Aston Villa.
Yeah, what do you make of this Bruno Guimaraes? We'll get back to the matches in a minute. What do you make of Bruno Guimaraes? Apparently he's going to be available in January, reasonably cheap. That apparently Newcastle are in serious PSR issues at the moment, apparently.
I think he's a super player. I think he's a really, really super player.
Apparently they're talking he could go as low as 50 or 60 million.
I don't think there's a team in the league he couldn't play in. I genuinely don't. I think he would do an amazing job with you boys. I think he could go into that Arsenal midfield. I think he could do a job at Chelsea. He could play United. He could go at Spurs. He could come into the City side. I think
he's real versatile as well. He can play all the roles in midfield as well, can't he?
He's real versatile. And again, it might be something where they're able to leverage it with a Matheus Nunes going the other way plus cash. You know, we value Nunes at 30. We value, you value Guimaraes at 60. Here's 35 and Nunes, job done. You get the PSR, you replace like for like. It's not the same player. I'm not saying it, but the same similar sort of position. And again, you tick a box and stuff like that. Because there's going to be more of that with the PSR issues.
You fix a mistake.
That's,
on the City side.
And Guimaraes does a much better job in your team than Nunes.
Interesting. Anyway, let's get back to fixtures. Arsenal, Everton.
Yeah, I think Arsenal will win. I don't think it'll be a walk in the park. I think it won't be great to look at. I think Everton will try and make it really hard. They'll be gritty. They'll be backs to the wall. But I think, as usual, Arsenal will just fall over the line. They're just very good at falling over the line.
Yeah.
And I'll go 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1. Liverpool, Fulham.
It's funny, the two teams whose game was called off last week, Liverpool and Everton, played the two teams who played against each other, Arsenal and Fulham.
Yeah.
Fulham certainly came out the better of that game last week. They were very, very good. We knew they'd be good at the Cottage. They always are. Unlucky not to get the win. I think they'll make Saturday really difficult for you lads. I really think they will. I fully expect.
It's a tough game last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I fully expect them to make it difficult. Do I think they'll have enough to get over the line? I don't. But if they did, it wouldn't shock me. It could almost be that Nottingham Forest game. It could. I'm gonna go the draw on it. No, I'm not. Sorry. I just need to check my bet. Hang on. Sorry, had a blonde moment there. I just said, hold on, I thought I did. I'm gonna go Liverpool 2-1.
Okay. No problem. I can live with that.
I'm going Liverpool 2-1, but I do think it's gonna be a real tough day at the office.
Yeah, I'd say to be honest with you, Ace, Phil Foden didn't come on. I don't know what's going on there either. The substitutions at the moment are crazy. I'd say he had one eye on Sunday. Definitely had one eye on Sunday.
There's the other thing I have to say at the minute about Pep is I'm certainly not in the business of going in on Pep Guardiola. Phenomenal, right? Phenomenal. But remember we got to the Champions League final. Remember they got to the Champions League final and he went and he overthought it a little bit. And he started to put square pegs in round holes and it kind of didn't work. I kind of at the minute look at them and think, that doesn't look right. The balance doesn't look right. I'm kind of thinking, why don't we have this guy here? And why don't we have that guy there? And why don't we? And I'm always looking at the team going, this isn't what it should be.
It's kind of Ranieri levels, isn't it? Because he went out and he had a good result against Forest, and then he went out and he changed it up again instead of sticking with the formula that worked. Because
a bit of continuity.
Forest 3-0 or something.
Like 3-0 to be Forest, yeah.
The Forest are playing well at the moment. That's a good win. You know what I mean? And like find a formula and stick with it. Why change it?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, no, it's a struggle, all right. It's weird, and the comments are weird, the interviews are weird. He's ripping the mush off himself, the whole lot, you know what I mean? The whole 9 yards at the minute. So,
he's ripping the mush off himself.
You seen him in that interview the other day. It was like he just came out of Helter Skelter or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Newcastle versus Leicester.
Newcastle versus Leicester. Listen, I always find it very, very difficult to back against Newcastle when they're at home. I do. I just think up there at St. James's Park, the crowd really, really get behind them. They're off the back of a defeat last week against Brentford. Brentford with another great win at home. Thomas Frank doing a really, really good job. Don't forget, without Ivan Toney. So it's a really, really good job he's doing.
See his interview in the dressing room afterwards?
I didn't. No.
Brilliant. Check it out. Brilliant.
I like Thomas Frank. I gotta say, I do like him. And I think, you know, Leicester obviously with a couple of decent results since Ruud van Nistelrooy came in, a win and a draw, you know. So they'll be tough to beat. They'll be plucky, but I think Newcastle will just get over the line. Yeah, again, I think it'll be 2-1 Newcastle.
Yeah, I think so. I tell you, if Leicester go up there, they beat Newcastle, there'll be serious pressure on Eddie Howe then. There'll be serious questions being asked. If you get to check out that Thomas Frank, he spent a bit of time in the dressing room talking to the players who didn't come on and why they didn't come on, but how important they are to the squad and all this kind of thing. And he was talking about, I think Pinnock had reached a milestone and stuff like that and all, but it was a really great speech and stuff like that and all, you know.
Great man management.
Yeah. Wolves versus Ipswich.
Yeah, this is a big game for Gary O'Neill. I think last week after the result at West Ham, we kind of thought West Ham might do them up at the Olympic Stadium, but I think this week, if Wolves don't manage to get over the line, I think that's Gary O'Neill getting onto the horse and riding off into the sunset, to be honest with you. Now listen, Ipswich will give them a really good game. It does depend which Wolves show up. Wolves have been a little bit Jekyll and Hyde.
Ted, checking if your goal scorer bet came up last week. Don't think it did it?
I don't know offhand, Ted.
Mine definitely didn't anyway.
I don't know offhand, but I will have a look for you. I'm going to go Wolves here. Yeah. But I do think there's going to be goals. I think it's going to be quite a few goals. And I'm going to go 3-2 to Wolves. I think it's going to be the Matthias Cunha show. And that'll just about keep O'Neill in it for another week.
Glad you said that. That coincides with my flutter, as they say.
Very good, see?
Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa.
Nottingham Forest.
Is this the painful European Premier League combo?
I think Ted might be right. My bet might have come up last week.
Who was it?
Salah. That voided the bet, right? Which means it goes to the other three. Now, I didn't get the bet up, Ted, because Watkins didn't play, or barely played. Hoyland came up and Haaland came up, I think. Am I right with them two? Hoyland and Haaland?
Yeah.
Hoyland and Haaland. And I think then I was just an Ollie Watkins goal away, because obviously John Duran scored and the Salah bet would have been voided, right? That makes sense, yeah?
Yeah. So it would have become a treble.
Would have become a treble. It was, yeah, okay. Thanks for that, Ted. Where am I now? Sorry.
Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa.
Forest and Villa. Yeah, listen, great week for both of them, wasn't it? Villa getting the win last weekend, Duran, and then Villa getting the win also during the week. And Forest nicking it at Old Trafford. It upset me. It really upset me.
I know. I know. You were like a mare last weekend about football.
I just I know you don't always get what you deserve, but I looked at the performance we put in and I'm like, we didn't play badly enough to lose that game. You know, there's 3 mistakes. There's Bruno for the first goal. There's Onana for the second goal. And there's Martinez for the third goal. Other than that, they didn't create anything. And United were much better. They dominated the possession again. You know, they dominated the possession. They had the game by the scruff of the neck. They controlled the game and lost it. And I'm like, and the frustrating thing is, I look at what they're doing under Amarin, and it's different. It's absolutely different. And you can see, again already, there's a pattern, what he wants to do, what he's trying to do. The message is getting across, I would say, quicker than maybe it did under Ten Hag. Because again, we were a couple of seasons under Ten Hag. Not that we did win trophies, but we didn't see a style or a brand of football that we were trying to play. You can see what we're trying to do with United at times, which is great. And I just want him to be rewarded for it because I know how much pressure he's going to be under if he doesn't. And I think that makes the job harder.
He's extremely frustrated. You can see it in him. Like,
absolutely.
And the problem is, I seen something there during the week which kind of, I don't know whether it's a good idea. They were describing basically that he's nearly going through a pre-season at the moment, mid-season. And I think that's a bit iffy as well, because I think, you know, we've seen Rashford has come in and played well and then he gets sat down. And I think you have to eventually, like, it's one thing to want to have a look at everyone. It's another thing to want to have a look at everyone to the detriment of the results. And I think, you know, as you said, you're not that far off that top 6 if you can string a few wins together.
Of course, and I'm sure that's the.
I think he needs to wrap his head around that as well.
Yeah, that is the plan, obviously. But I think, and if you heard any of his interviews that he's done previously, they talked about it, and he actually he said he asked United, could they wait till the summer? And United said, no, it's now or never. But him asking the question, I can absolutely understand why he wanted to wait till the summer. You know, to ingrain that kind of style and get that stamp and get 5 or 6 games and see new faces and get guys out and get guys in. And it's so hard to do that in fucking November when you take a gig.
Well, it's a massive change as well. This is not like Slot going into Liverpool and tweaking a few things. This is like I was here and now I'm over here.
Slot came in and put oil on the wheels.
Yeah.
And they just ran better. You know, Amarin came in and went, okay, we're going to play with slippers on our feet, not football boots. And the lads went, what?
Yeah, this is like going from football to American football to change. Yeah. It's a massive change. And it's like
massive.
And it takes a lot of time. Not everyone's going to wrap their head around straight away.
I hope the level of patience is there that needs to be. Because again, like if I'm Jason Wilcox and if I'm Omar Barada and I've gone to bat for this guy to get in the gig, I need him to get enough time for it to work. A lot of United's really good business in the summer was done in the level under the first team. You know, with the boy Obi Martin, with the boy Sekou Kone. You know, you see the other boy Zero came in yesterday. And another Senegalese lad, and then there's another Paraguayan lad coming. These are talked about as some of the finest talents in world football at this level, and they're bringing them in below to get them involved with the first team, to be able to blood the team with these young up-and-coming footballers who have legs and who are going to be taught to play football a certain way and stuff. But that all takes time, and it won't happen like that in the click of the fingers.
You coinciding with that as well, though, you do still have to try win games and put points on the board.
Of course,
find a balance between the two.
Because your problem's going to be all these wheels could be moving in motion in the background, but unless the results on the pitch are good enough, we won't ever see the fruition of these wheels being moved.
Yeah, and I suppose the issue you have there as well is you have to accept sometimes that you have a certain makeup of players within your squad, and if you can't play your style, as much as you want to enforce that and put it in there and use it and adopt it and all that kind of thing, you still have to win games. You still have to find a way to win games.
I wouldn't be surprised
a little bit,
I wouldn't be surprised after the Christmas break to see him blood a couple of the younger lads. And to do it, almost in the face of some of the more experienced players, and just say, I'm putting this kid in, not because he's better than you, but because he's willing to do the job I'm asking him to do, and because he's going to put the fucking effort in that you won't.
Is there kind of an acceptance that, like, maybe top 4 and all that is too much at the moment, and there's an acceptance that it doesn't really kind of matter where you finish so long as you're not in the relegation. This is a transition year. You're going to have to bring in if you're obviously going to bring these players in the new year as well.
Very hard to write off a season in November, though. And was, but I do understand you.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the juggling act is going to have to happen, where, because you bet he's been told, we need 4th place, pal.
Yeah,
we need 4th place to get back into this Champions League, right?
4th place is going to be so tough, isn't it, when you look at that collection of teams that are there and stuff.
Listen, you've got you guys who are running away with things at the minute.
Chelsea.
You've got Chelsea who are on your coattails. You've got Arsenal there. You've got City there. Even if we finished best of the rest and came 5th, that wouldn't be a bad season.
Apparently they might be getting a 5th spot as well. Did you read that?
I didn't read it. If we were to nick 5th ahead of Villa, ahead of Brighton, ahead of Spurs, if we were to nick 5th spot, that for me would be...
You also must have designs on the Europa though, yeah? Which gives you a spot as well, doesn't it?
We should have designs on the Europa. That should be our road, back into it, really. Because that way, if you are going week to week in Europa, now that's a dangerous game to play, by the way. If your Premier League games are your downtime, and if your Premier League games are when you're trying things out, when you're blooding lads in, so that they're right on it for that Europa, that's a seriously dicey game to play. Because if you get beaten in a semi-final or a final and then finish 12th or 13th, it would be completely different. It would be completely different. If we finished 13th and won the Europa and got a Champions League spot, he'd have done his job.
And you've blooded all those players and everything.
You've blooded the younger lads. You've found out who can't do what you want them to do. They'll be on the rack in the summer. All of that can happen. So, and then you go into it from the summer with a bigger squad, with a fresher squad, with guys who are going to sing from the hymn sheet and stuff like that, and you go from there and you try and build. But if you don't get Champions League football and finish really low down because you've tried a few bits in the Premier League, you're in trouble.
Yeah, Rangers won, Tottenham won full time. Yeah, more pressure on Tottenham. Brighton versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah, Crystal Palace started to come around. Still not quite where they need to be. But again, certain things have started to work. We spoke about the back three, Mark Gahey, Trevor Chalobah and Maxime Lacroix, the 3 lads at centre-backs playing great football. Dean Henderson doing very well in behind them.
Yeah.
They're just really still struggling through the middle of that attacking third of the park. Mateta's done okay, but he's been a bit off it. Eze's been hit and miss because of the injuries. Sarr hasn't got to the level they need him to be at. And then obviously they're missing Michael Elise massively.
And Gahey as well. Gahey hasn't had a great season either on the back of the Euros.
He hasn't been bad though. He hasn't been bad. Gahey's not been bad now, I have to say. And he scored a couple of goals for them as well now. Gahey's not been bad. The back three have been okay.
He's coughed up a few as well.
No, Gahey's been all right. I still don't think Gahey'll be there much longer. I think even if they manage to keep him in January, I think that's another feather in their cap to get to the summer. But, you know, at that stage, I think he'll go. He'll have to go.
What are you going on this Brighton Palace?
Listen, I can't back against Brighton at home at the Amex there. I think they're very good, high energy levels and stuff like that. So I'll go Brighton. I'll go Brighton 2-1.
We'll skip the derby because we'll come back to it at the end because we want to talk about it. Chelsea, Brentford?
Chelsea.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, just because obviously Brentford's away form is shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Chelsea at the Bridge have been very, very good this year. They're scoring lots of goals. Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson doing really, really well for them there. I think Maresca's doing a super job. I think they're miles ahead of where even you know, the liveliest of Chelsea fans would have thought they were going to be. I think
Brentford do like a game at the Bridge, though.
They do. We know a lad that was there when they put 4 past them a couple of years ago, but I don't think it'll happen. I don't think Lightning's going to strike twice.
Brentford don't tend to let themselves be bullied as easy. If you look at Chelsea at the moment as well, they're kind of bullying teams a lot recently.
Brentford are a big physical team.
Yeah.
You know, Nathan Collins will love that. You know, Norgard, Damsgaard, they'll love that. Pinnock again will love
last week as well. Nathan Collins, lovely goal.
Yeah, we'll love all of that. But I just think Chelsea will have too much. I'm gonna go Chelsea 3-1.
Southampton, Tottenham.
Yeah, listen, I kind of Spurs at the minute are kind of hit and miss, but they'll be hit against Southampton.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Russell Martin and for Southampton, Spurs will do it at St Mary's.
He's on borrowed time, isn't he, Russell Martin? Let's be honest.
Yeah, he is. I'm gonna go Spurs 3-1. I can't believe Martin's still there, if I'm honest.
And to be honest, if Spurs lose there, Anne shouldn't even wait to be sacked. He should just go back and clear out his locker.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And then Monday we got Bournemouth versus West Ham, which I think could be a classic Monday night game.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that could be a really, really good game. Bournemouth very, very good at home. Really, really good at home. We know how good they are at home. They've taken quite a few scalps there this season. They got a great win last weekend away as well at Ipswich. And West Ham got back on the goal trail and got a result against Wolves. But I think going to the Vitality will be a little bit too much for them. I think Evan Nilsson and Unel and yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on there. Semenyo, Kluivert. Do you know what they're doing really, really well? Semenyo has a week where he has a couple of goals and they get a win. And then it shifts and it's Tavernier.
Yeah.
And then Kluivert scores a hat-trick. And then Evan Nilsson gets 2. And everybody's just playing a little part. They're not overly reliant. Whereas last season, if that was Bournemouth, everything had to go through Dominic Solanke. Had to go through him. I think everybody around, you know, if it's not Dango Quattara, if it's not Louis Sinistera, if it's not any of these guys, it's the other lads that are just nipping in, doing enough goals and assists, and they're playing really well. Again, another guy, Antonio Areola, I mentioned for the United gig, I thought another guy, him and Silva, 2 lads that will both get upgraded pretty soon. If I'm honest, I think they'll both be onto something big.
Interesting. Right. Let's go roll back, talk about the derby. Give me your thoughts, what way it's going to go, how you think yous are going to go. Both teams going in. Both teams, it's massive for them. There's a lot on the line in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously it being in the Etihad means there's a little more pressure on City. It's a home game for them. And obviously off the back of all the poor results and stuff like that, Pep is not under pressure, but he's feeling the pressure. I think Amra will go in with the same sort of plan he went in with against Arsenal, where we try to be very, very compact and stuff like that and keep it very, very structured so they can't play through the middle of us.
Pragmatic.
Right, and I think that's what he's going to build off. And I think, provided we can defend the set pieces a little bit better, which isn't a given either, by the way, because City have some big boys in Diaz and Akanji and Aki and guys like that. And Josko Vardiol, and then they've got Haaland. So there's no guarantee that we'll be able to stand up to that test. But I do think this will suit us to go and try and play on the counter. I think we're better on the counter. And I'm way more hopeful than you would think. I think we're going to nick this. And I think we're going to nick it 1-0.
I think it's really finely balanced.
I do too.
I'm not sitting here thinking City all day.
No, not at all.
They're coming off the back of, obviously, you beat them in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Then you're going to the Etihad. So you said the onus is on City. They really need to.
I don't necessarily think the FA Cup thing will hold up too much, just with it not being Ten Hag. You know, it'll be very different. But what I would say is, you know, if there's anything that could tip it our way, don't forget what Sporting did to City 3 weeks ago in Ruben Amorim's last game. You know, I think this could be a little ace up his sleeve, because he knows he's going to be showing video from on the plane home. He's just going to be showing video. Look at what we did to them. Look at where we hurt them. Look at how we hurt them. You know, you substitute Georgis, it's Hoyland. You substitute this guy, it's someone else. You substitute, you know, Hoyland has started to come alive under Amorim. He's got 5 goals for Amorim since he's come in, more than any other player at United. He will be our Victor Georgis. He won't do the same job. He'll do things differently, but he can score goals. You know, his work rate is good. He's a good finisher. I think we're going to nick this 1-0.
I think there's going to be a few goals in this. I think this is going to be table tennis. This is going to be pinball.
No.
I think very much so. I'm not sure you're going to be as pragmatic as the Arsenal game.
We absolutely are.
I don't know.
Absolutely are.
I'd say he's.
This is part of the blueprint. This is part of the blueprint.
I don't know. Because
in order for you to win games the way he wants to win games, you have to control it at a certain part of the pitch, and that's all about those 3 boys at the back, and the lads that sit in front and keep it very, very tight in that kind of diamond in front of the 18-yard box. It'll be absolutely like that.
I don't know. I just think the game it might start like that for the first 10 minutes or something. I think it'll change very quick. I think this will become a very open game. I do. I just have a feeling. I think where he was pragmatic against Arsenal, I think he was probably disappointed in the end as well.
You've got to be disappointed, especially with how well they played.
Yeah.
So you've got to be disappointed, absolutely. But
you don't want to create
doesn't mean you're gonna. It also doesn't mean you're gonna change the approach if you are happy with it, but you just didn't get the result. You keep knocking on that door and you keep doing things the same way. Someone's gonna open it. But if you all of a sudden go, well, that worked, but we didn't. We'll change it. It also doesn't send a great message to the lads involved either. So I think we're gonna get a win here. I think we're gonna win 1-0. I really do.
I think it's going to be a much bigger scoreline. I'm not saying you won't get the win. I think it's very evenly balanced. There's a lot of pressure there on both sides. As you said, the onus is on City. They're in a real bad place at the moment.
I'm gonna make another prediction, and this is a little more geared towards our WhatsApp group. I'm gonna predict if we do win, it's the first time you'll hear our friend Dean getting excited about a Man United victory. Because this would be right up his street.
The preface on that will be what the result is like on Saturday first.
I don't know.
Because if you drop the ball on Saturday, there's nothing to get excited about.
Well, there is if we can tip them off then. Because let's be honest, we're not going to be,
Do you agree with that? The Turkish goalkeeper has to start ahead of Onana?
I think Bayindir should have been starting the Europa games. I've said it to you a couple of times. Every time I go to Old Trafford, I'm looking at this guy in the warm-up. I'm like, why have we not seen any of this, lad?
I think if he wanted, even if he was set on making the change, I don't think he's going to make the change in the derby. That'd be very brave. Very brave. Because if that backfires, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, on a night like tonight, Onana didn't need to play.
Yeah.
Away, Champion or Europa League game, you know.
And if, as we say, he's looking at the squad, he should be looking at this guy.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. No, again, strange. I think this is going to be 3-2, but I don't know for which team.
There's no way there's going to be 5 goals. No way there's going to be 5 goals.
We shall see. Right, quick one on this. Announced 2034, Saudi Arabia.
Have they used Salah as the poster boy?
No. That's your man, the sports minister, isn't it?
I thought that was Salah there getting the gear ready for when he heads off to Al Nassr.
No, this is your man who sits on the throne beside the FIFA guy, doesn't he? And the UEFA guy. Yeah.
Bin Salman.
Yeah.
We did talk about the last World Cup that was in that neck of the woods, let's say in the Gulf, and we were quite worried about how it was going to go ahead and be received and stuff like that. And don't forget, it was fucking phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Now, the one thing I would worry about is, when are we holding it? Because I know they've said we're not doing the winter thing ever again. But if you're telling me like teams are going to be playing in Saudi, they've no choice.
Yeah,
they've no choice. If you're telling me teams, I've been in Dubai in August, and I walked out my hotel room. I walked out of my hotel in Dubai.
Walk back in
onto the swimming pool was on the roof. Yeah. I came out onto the roof, and it was 48 degrees, and the swimming pool water was only short of boiling. That's how bad it was.
Man, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So don't tell me we're going to expect lads to be playing football matches in this, unless they're going to do something radical where kick-off times are going to be 12 o'clock at night, and it's going to be in pitch darkness, you know, where there's no sunlight at all, and everything is played under lights, unless it's something like that.
Didn't they put the aircon blowers into the stadiums in Qatar and all?
Yeah, I still don't know how much it worked, because remember, we saw a lot of jerseys that needed to be changed at half times, you know.
Jerry, you could say that about every football organisation and every football team at this stage at a professional level.
You could say that about every organisation, not just sport ones.
Souls are for losers. Do you know what I would say, Darren? If they do switch it to the winter, that could be a bucket list for us, and I'll tell you why. You'll be 50.
I had to just look at the...
You'll be 50, 2034.
It's 10 years away. Yeah, that's true now.
You'll be 50. And if they are running in the winter, we could be at the FIFA World Cup 2034 in Saudi Arabia.
I'll be 50. What age will you be? 50, you'll be 61?
97.
Be 61?
Yeah, I'll be 63.
You'll be 63.
So your 50th and my retirement.
And by the way, like, nobody will take care of you like these lads. Nobody will take care of you like these lads. Saudi Arabia, I believe, is about somewhere between a 2.5 hour flight from Dubai. Now, we don't do anything direct at the minute. I assume by the time the World Cup comes around, you'll either go direct to Heathrow and then go Heathrow to to Saudi Arabia, or you'll fly Dublin, Dubai, and then you go Dubai, Saudi.
You never sure in 10 years' time, Elon Musk might have teleporting at that stage. Mightn't even have to fly.
Fucking amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just get into a capsule.
Imagine it. Oh, can you imagine it?
Yeah.
Oh God, I could go everywhere. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
I can't wait when they have those planes that go, orbit planes, and like you can go from Dublin to New York or whatever it is in an hour or whatever it is, less. That's what we live for. That's what we live for. But there you go. I was looking at it and I was thinking, you'll be 50.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, Niall. It's not a bad. I'll give you. Would we have to start saving now?
We have 10 years to get ready. Yeah, we've 10 years.
What would it cost you? It'd cost you 10 grand, wouldn't it?
It cost you a lot because we'd be betting a lot of money on the golf courses while we're out there as well.
So what about? Hang on. I'm a maths guy, right?
Mm.
So the 52 weeks, yeah.
It'd be if you put it. What did you say? 10 grand?
Hang on, 52 weeks of the year.
Be a grand a year.
Times 10 years is 520 weeks, yeah? If you stuck away 20 quid a week, you'd have 10.5 grand.
Yeah, that's all. Put it into a little pocket on Revolut there.
A Revolut kitty.
Little Revolut pocket for 2034.
And if we bought it as crypto, what would we have by then?
Well, we'd at least triple it. The weeks I'm having at the moment anyway. And so long as Trump stays in power, we're all good.
Right.
Mr. Crypto. So there you go. So there's food for thought. Food for thought.
Tell you. I thought, you know what? That could be. And did you see the stadiums?
Oh, I'd say they're unbelievable.
Did you see the pictures of the stadiums, the mock-ups for the artistic impressions? Oh,
Unreal.
God almighty.
Unreal.
Oh, God.
So all they have to do is go to Qatar, take them apart and bring them over and rebuild them. So they're all made out of 40 foot containers.
They'll get out Ed Sheeran. Maybe build a Lego house.
Imagine. Right, give us your bets. Let's get into betting territory here.
I managed to get 3 bets tonight for you. But there's something weird about my bets tonight.
That's okay.
Do you want to know what's weird about my bets?
Go on.
All 3 bets are the same price.
What?
Yeah.
That is mental. Never had that.
All 3 bets are the same price.
That's a first. Clip it up.
Right? So, we'll start with result and both to score.
Yeah.
Liverpool at home against Fulham. Newcastle at home against Leicester. And Brighton at home against Palace. Liverpool, Newcastle and Brighton. Result on both to score 20-1.
Not too bad. Do you want more?
Right? No, I'm going to keep going.
All right, go on. I was thinking just for comparisons. That's all.
Then I've done my to score or assist. Yeah?
I did just the score this week.
That's okay. I've done to score or assist. I've gone Anthony Gordon. I've done Luis Diaz. I've done Bruno Fernandes. And I've done Dominic Solanke.
I've none of them.
And they are 20-1. Goal or assist.
Okay.
And then I round out with 3 cards. And my 3 cards pay 20-1. And I've gone with 3 midfielders who love a tackle. I've gone with Joe Linton at Newcastle.
No.
I've gone with Flynn Downs at Southampton. And I've gone with Manuel Ugarte in his first Manchester derby.
It feels more like a red than a yellow, doesn't it?
No. There you go. That's what I have now.
Right. Result about the score. This is 112-1.
You should have at least 4 of them, right?
I did 4, yeah. I did 4.
Right, so you have Liverpool.
Yeah. I have Arsenal against Everton and both to score.
Yeah.
We have Wolves versus Ipswich and both the score.
Okay. Yeah.
And I rounded it out with Forest versus Villa. Forest and both the score because of the European League connection that normally happens. And the four of those pays Arsenal, Liverpool, Wolves, and Nottingham Forest 112 to 1.
That's a nice winner, isn't it?
It's not bad now. It's not bad. Like I said to you, I did player to score this week instead of score and assist.
Yes.
And I have Bukayo Saka versus Everton.
Off the back of a hat-trick.
I have the Egyptian King versus Fulham because he takes the penalties and scores.
That's right.
I have the boy you highlighted earlier for Wolves, Matthias Cunha.
Yes.
And I rounded it out with Newcastle's Alexander Isak.
Yeah,
and
pretty good. Four lads at home as well.
22 to 1.
It's not great, is it?
It's not huge, but
it's not you. It's grand. I've gone 4 and I got 20 out of goal or assist.
Yeah.
But it's not great. It's not.
This one might interest you a bit better. This is 118 to 1.
Right, give me the teams. Hey, have you done 3 or 4?
4.
4 is tough.
4.
Give it to me. What have you got?
So
give me your first team.
The first one is Everton.
Everton.
Normally my banker.
Normally a banker at Everton.
Think of where Bukayo Saka is going to be playing.
Yeah, well, it's usually Michaelenko.
No.
Michaelenko's the left back. He'll come up against Saka.
No.
So you're thinking the opposite side. So it's Young then.
No. I'm thinking of the buddy beside Michaelenko.
Brantway.
No, James Tarkowski.
He plays the right side of centre back.
He's the one I picked out anyway.
You've got Young and Tarkowski, and then you've got Brantway and Michaelenko. Now, Tarkowski's usually pretty good for a card. But in my head, I was thinking Saka. So I'm looking on the left side, and then I'm like, is he gone for Michaelenko? Doesn't pick up too many.
I got it mixed up.
That's all right. Don't worry. Don't worry about that now.
The next one is Fulham against Liverpool.
I don't think you've gone our boy Anthony Robinson. I think you've gone Kenny Tete up against Luis Diaz.
No, I did Kenny last week, so I've gone with Joachim Anderson.
Didn't play last week. I think he might be injured.
Okay, I didn't check. It didn't come up with that, and so
now the boy Calvin Bassey got it one last weekend as well.
Same.
And he likes a tackle. The boy Calvin Bassey, really good young player, really good centre back, but he can be a bit rash at times.
The other one I did was Aston Villa. This guy is normally midfielder, normally nailed on.
For a card.
Ex-Toffee.
Yeah, Ross.
No.
Oh, Onana, sorry.
No, Amadou Onana,
yeah. Yeah.
And then the final one who should never be mentioned in a bet, who plays at Newcastle, who should never be mentioned in betting circles.
Sandro Tonali.
He's number 4. So Tarkowski.
And he likes a yellow card.
He does indeed. And does not like Newcastle.
Do you know why I think he's always good for a card? And it's the opposite to the Joshua Zirkzee and Scott McTominay argument. McTominay went from the speed and pace of the Premier League to Italy. He looks like prime fucking Maradona at the minute. Zirkzee went the opposite way. He now looks like he's pissing up a hill and getting wet.
He now looks like prime Madonna.
Right, and I think that's the similar sort of thing with Tonali. You can see the boy has good feet. Technically, he's quite gifted. The pace at times, though, is just way too much for him. And he ends up having to try and jump into a tackle to just save himself at times. And you're thinking, this is mental.
He's also had a nightmare since he went there with the betting.
He has. Of course he has.
And on top of that as well, the boy was broken-hearted leaving AC Milan at the time as well, and
never wanted to leave. No. Milan sold him down the river on that, didn't they?
And whatever about not wanting to move, but not wanting to move, and it's Newcastle, and you end up there is even more difficult, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's them. So Tarkowski, Anderson, Tonali, Onana, 118 to 1.
Bit of value there. Bit of value, Niall.
Bit of value.
It's what we like.
Well, we've had a few weeks where it's been tough to pull it together to get any value, remember? So
been a few weeks since we had a winner as well.
Yeah.
We could deal with one.
Got a month since we've had one, isn't it? A month, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We could do with a good one. Want a big one.
Want a nice one. Yeah.
Hey, listen, a tenner on a 20 to 1 ain't too bad either. So
it's no bad winners.
Right. So that's it. We will see. So in the derby, you went 1-0 United.
Yeah.
And I went 3-2, but I can't decide either way. I think there'll be 5 goals in it. So
Toss of a coin. I don't think so.
I had a crack on WhatsApp Sunday anyway.
Absolutely.
Sure. That's for sure. So folks, if you can, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and drop a like on the video. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Cheers, bro.
See you, pal.